Chapter 8. The search continues. The boardroom doors were shut and the acquisition meeting was begun. Lawyers from both the Harding Corporation and Wilcox Steel Mill were present. We sat on opposite sides of a large table. The windows were open and several fans oscillated around the room, but that did little to eliminate the sweltering heat. Most of us were in our shirt sleeves before the first hour had passed. I did my best to remain focused, but soon found myself repeating the name Giles Duxbury in my head. Perhaps God was telling me to leave the man alone, not help him. The meeting ended in the evening. No settlement was reached. We would need to resume negotiations in the morning. I got home at 10 o'clock. My wife came down. She warmed a plate of supper for me. "How was your meeting, dear?" she asked, joining me at the table. "I thought we were close, but then they wanted to renegotiate terms that were already agreed upon weeks ago." I looked around. "Where's Lars?" "He's not back yet." "Is he out with your dad?" "Yes, they've been gone all day." "Have they telephoned?" "No." "I'm a bit worried." "Loris, I've never known you to worry about anything." "I'm starting to have a bad feeling about this Giles Duxbury. He might be missing, and if he is, someone sinister might not want him found." Lars entered the house. He looked exhausted. I heard my father-in-law drive off. "Did you find Duxbury?" I asked. "No." Lars hung up his hat. "Did you eat?" asked my wife. "No," said Lars. My wife heated another plate of food. "How did your meeting go?" asked Lars, joining me at the table. "Did we buy the steel mill?" "Not yet. They're stalling. They now want to renegotiate terms that were already agreed upon." "Are they in a position to renegotiate terms?" "Not really. They're overextended and having cash flow problems. They're also in danger of defaulting on a rather sizable loan." "Did the Mead Street Avenger look over their books?" "I always do my homework before negotiating any deal." Lars roared. My wife brought Lars his supper. He thanked her. "Where did you go today?" I asked. "We started off at the Cambridge Street precinct." "Is that near where Duxbury used to live?" "Yes, about a block away. Detective Sergeant Oakes has a nephew who works there." "That would be my cousin, Mike Shea," said my wife. "I didn't know you had a cousin in the Boston Police Department," I said. "He just started," she said. "Shea introduced us to the other officers," said Lars. "Did anyone know Duxbury?" I asked. "Yes, most of the patrolmen did. Duxbury had been living in the area for many years." "Has anyone seen him lately?" "No." "What did they tell you about him?" "One man described him as being sort of a half-wit who bets heavily on boxing matches and horse races. Supposedly he's got rotten luck and is always broke." "I guess he really could use some help." "Another policeman told us that he thought Duxbury was only pretending to be a half-wit." "Why would a man pretend to be a half-wit?" "Perhaps he's a mastermind criminal who wishes to avoid suspicion." "From what you learned so far, do you think he's a mastermind criminal?" "No." "Did you get the name of Duxbury's bookmaker?" "Yes. He's a man called Uncle Joe." This Uncle Joe sounds like an ominous character." "Right after we got the name, someone high up in the department came over and warned Detective Sergeant Oakes not to bother Uncle Joe." "Did my father-in-law know who this high-up man was?" "Yes, he was a captain there. They had worked together many years ago. Oakes told me later that he never liked the guy." "Had Duxbury ever been arrested?" "He'd been run in a few times, mostly for low-level beefs. Here's his latest mugshot." Lars handed me a card that he took from his pocket. "Yeah, he's not a very pleasant-looking fellow," I said. My wife came over and looked over my shoulder at the picture. "I'd move to the other side of the street if I saw him coming the other way," she said. "He looks like trouble." "Read the description," I said, pointing to information that was typed on the right side of the mugshot card. "He's got a tattoo of a hula dancer on the right forearm and an anchor on the left forearm. I bet he was in the Navy." "You could certainly infer that," said Lars. "I assume once you had his photograph, you started making the rounds." "We searched every bar in Scollay Square. Most of the day drunks recognized him, but no one knew where he was." "Were people surprised to hear that he might be missing?" "Not really." "When was the last time anyone actually saw him?" "Two independent sources placed him at the Suffolk Downs racetrack on the 30th of May. Now that was 19 days ago." "Has he been reported missing?" "If he had, someone at the station would have mentioned it." "Poor Giles Duxbury. He's been gone for almost a month, and no one seems to care." "It sure seems that way." "Did you go back and speak to the woman who lived above Dixie's bar?" "We knocked on her door, but there was no answer." "What will you do tomorrow?" "Detective Sergeant Oakes thinks we should check the morgues. Duxbury might be lying on a slab with a John Doe tag looped around his big toe."